Welcome back to the room, dear participants. We have to move on. Please take your seats because we have to move on with our lectures and presentations. Our next topic is health and health industry investment and the development, and we really invited best of the best from the experts, so please take your seats and we will move on. We'll have representatives from Jadran Galensky Laboratory, M-Plus Group, Provectus Capital Partners, Ministry of Tourism and Sport, and Ericsson Nikola Tesla. And each lecture, each speaker will have only 15 minutes sharp for their presentation, and then we're gonna ring the bell when the time is up and the lecture should be finished. Could you please just close the door so we can start with our first speaker, who is already ready? So our first speaker is Mr. Joško Brkić, who will represent Jadran Galensky Laboratory, our general sponsor. So hello, sponsor. Jadran Galensky Laboratory is the first completely private pharmaceutical joint stock company in Croatia. It was founded in 1991 and has been continuously showing impressive growth. Mr. Brkić is going to be at our stage for the second year in a row. So please start the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. I was instructed to keep it under 15 minutes. It's going to be a challenge, but you guys will help me just go like this if I start talking too much.
Yeah, we're going to throw things at you.
Not the first time. Okay, so this is the block for investing and development. The big question is, what makes people and companies invest? Is it because of your mom wants you to? Is it because you have your obligation to shareholders, stakeholders? Or is it something, pretty basic, just to be able to survive through the adverse conditions that are thrown at you? Or even better, maybe even to adapt and thrive in these hostile environments the business can usually be. So investment is a necessity, I would say, either because you want long-term gain or you want something of a reward in the end. But when investing, you're faced with a lot of options. Some pretty standard ones are shown here, and I don't know if any of you are investors. You will see some usual ones, you will see some unusual ones, but the point is there's a lot of choices to be made. So you have your Standard & Poor 500 companies there that you can invest into. You have, let's say, Croatian favorite real estate investments. If you're into private healthcare business, the graph on the far right will probably make you smile that the government healthcare subsidies is dropping. And the thing is that in the end, all of these are looking to get a better future for the investor and for everyone who's involved. The only thing is, these are something else. These are the real graphs for greenhouse gases, for Arctic sea ice melting, for the proliferation of carbon dioxide. Does any of you like skiing in the glaciers in the mountains? Yeah, well, enjoy it while it lasts, because in the last 40 years, the effect of global warming has wiped out, like that, 25 meters of every glacier in the world. So it's 25 meters, it's an 8-story building. Yeah. Ocean heat, ocean is warming, it's a common thing. Sea level is rising. Spring snow, I don't know if anybody likes spring snow, but this is the amount of snow-covered areas during the spring, which is also decreasing. And when you look at all of these, you can say, well, basically it's because of heating. The sun is heating more and more, and it's not us to blame. It's easy to think of that. However, the sun, it's a great sport. It's a star player. It's constant. Just take its usual 11-year cycle. But it's been constant. It's been giving us constant heat and brightness for the last 100 years. So it's not up to sun. And this is basically a slideshow of investments we as a community, as a civilization, have been making for the last years and decades. What do we have to show for in return? Not the big city in the background, but dramatic desert in the front. The thing is that global warming is here. It's here to stay, and although we may not yet experience it to the fullest extent, it's already a reality. and a dire one, if I may say, for millions of people. Speaking as a sponsor of the conference and as a company who was introduced in such a nice way, you might ask yourself, well, what does it have to do with JGL, whose primary brand and product is based on Adriatic seawater, a clean and pristine source that we have here in abundance. That's used mostly for treatment of upper respiratory tract syndromes and conditions, primarily caused by what? Viruses, acute viral respiratory illnesses. And if you look at this nice picture, you can see that the level of areas that have been hit hardest with the global warming and the climate change, those are in red, and those are our biggest markets. So we have been hit hard. It does not stop there. Global climate changes have disturbed the usual patterns that we know. This is what the average dynamics of flu and flu-related types and subtypes has been since the last, let's say, 5 years. There's a year missing. It's not just what's going on. So we have a really big problem with heat, with global warming. We have a strong problem with the source of our business being undermined. So we need to adapt. And to be able to adapt, we need to invest. These are just let's call it a system. There's been a lot of talk about the system, the necessity for having a system to be able to tackle problems that are thrown at you. In the previous panel, the system was deemed as a necessity. These here are not only investments which is throwing money at a problem. This here is a set of investments we made to be able to establish a system that will yield results in the years to come, that will provide, so to speak, a good return on investment. But it's not only a financial topic, it's a topic of getting the right system in place and making solutions possible. So what came out of those investments is the new adaptations that we made. So first, market research. We started to think and consider and understand the consumers in a new way. In scientific research, we really put the pedal to the metal, as they say, and both through investing into our own talent and as well as getting all the available outside or external talent engaged in our discussions and topics. For those, we have to show, you will see next in the presentation, systematic review and a new study recently published. Recently is 2 weeks. And then we have this exchange of, I would say, the brightest minds in the field that we operate in, that made us aware of the potentials to be able to develop new products. Investments in technology also made it available for us to develop something new that I'm not at liberty to talk right now, but those of you in this area will be very happy to find out that we have a new product coming out beginning of next year with safety innovation unlike anybody has in the market. So far it's a top secret, but it's going to be huge, can I say it? Okay, and then again, this all needs to be done somewhere. It needs to be produced. It's always easy to say we have investments in know-how and process and everything, but until you see a building getting constructed, you know that it's just fairy tales. I've mentioned the systematic review. We found a necessity for this because usage of seawater in human health has been high. It's a standard process for almost 2,000 years. However, this systematic review compiles around 150 clinical studies, different researches that provide the beneficial use of seawater in human health. The newest research that we have done is the use of seawater in children, 6 to 11 years, by our colleagues in Ukraine, that have shown that the use of Aquamaris product, Aquamaris Strong, which is basically seawater that we have in abundance here, is beneficial for reducing the symptoms, reducing the intensity of symptoms, reducing the possibility of secondary bacterial infection, and then reducing the need to prescribe the antibacterial medicines. So it's also a financial benefit for the parents. This is all just trying to expand the business that we use, that we have, not to be as afflicted as we could by those red areas struck hard with climate change. Climate change, like the numbers, like the name says, it's not just about heat. It's about changing patterns. So we spend more and more time indoors. Those indoors is either heavily heated or heavily air conditioned because we're grown accustomed to 20 to 25 Celsius as a standard temperature that we like to operate in. So we invest heavily into heating and ventilation. This, of course, is way, how to say, not detrimental, but it could pose serious risks to the health of upper respiratory system because it dries out the nasal mucosa. We had a research done in the market that says out of all the usual suspects that you have for your nasal situations, what's the one that you did not think about? And the first one that came out is the dry nose because of spending a lot of time indoors, either heated or heavily air conditioned. But the good thing is that people understand that there's a problem, and the even better thing is that they understand that it needs to be solved, and they're solving it already with Aquamaris and seawater. So we are, I would say, in a good way. This, like I mentioned before, you can talk about all the investments, you can talk about getting to the processes set up and optimizing it and getting the know-how developed. But until you see a building getting up, getting built, which means the investment is on the way, this is our new facility that will enable us to put all the possible new tests, innovations. This is our pilot lab. It's basically a license to fail and fail fast, which means we have an issue, we have a global climate change on our hands, we have a standard process of doing things, we have our products that are already accepted worldwide. However, we need to adapt, we need to change, we need to grow through innovation. And this is the facility that will enable us that innovation. It's only work in progress, but hopefully this is what it will look like in the end. I was told that I need to be under 15 minutes, and I think, yeah, this is about it.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
You have something to add, or this is the end?
This is the end.
Okay, then big round of applause for Joško. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You should have brought this nasal sprays with you because now I feel itching after your presentation. So next time, bring the bottles. Thank you so much for now. And if you have any questions for Joško, just bear them in mind for the Q&A session that will be after the block with all the speakers. Okay, now next speaker is Mr. Stjepan Orešković, scientist and entrepreneur from the M Plus group, who is not here live, but it should be live. Can you hear us, Mr. Stjepan?
Yes, I can hear you, and I am alive.
You're alive. Alive from your home. Thank you so much for joining in, and we are looking forward to your presentation.
Okay, so I hope that there is a good visibility of the presentation on your big screen. I really regret that I can't join you in person because I will be missing a lot of friends and probably or possibly new friends from the public. And nice to see you. Thank you for the camera. So my presentation for today is less technical. I didn't want to go into the details. I was wondering what would be the key question for prospect of health tourism and medical tourism in Croatia, and actually same questions apply globally. And so when we speak about health tourism in Croatia, it's always kind of appendix to the idea of tourism. The tourism is the main story. The whole nation is excited about tourism. It's kind of sport, betting or equal to talking about weather in UK. Every day we watch how many tourists reach Croatia, how many cars passed Rupa or other borders, and so basically then every government proudly announced that we are big winners because our tourism is steadily growing. My story is going a bit different way. My question is or was for myself first, what's wrong in the order? And so the title of the presentation is actually connected with the question. I like Leonard Cohen and also good English proverbs. There is a famous proverb which says, it was just some old convention like the horse before the cart. What does the horse before the cart means? This is the impression. Cart before the horse is used to suggest something is done contrary to normally effective sequence of events. A cart is a vehicle that is ordinarily pulled by a horse, so to put the cart before the horse is analogy for doing something in the wrong direction or order. And that's exactly what I want to argue for in this presentation. I think the philosophy of Croatian tourism is actually the cart before the horse. Because the whole philosophy of tourism is based on the idea of successful continuation of what we are already doing. We just recently learned that the strategy of development of tourism that just expired did not reach any of the strategic goals that were outlined in the previous strategy, and now we are writing the new one. The same applies to the health strategy and all other strategies. Everything is going by driven by wild waters, not managed. And if we look for alternatives to mass tourism, because in general or just in principle we agree that mass tourism is something that's potentially horrible, that then we come usually to standard ideas. But before that, let's argue how potentially dangerous is the idea of developing mass tourism in our country. This is a graph that shows that share of tourism as a part of the total GDP and as related to the employment, excluding domestic tourism. And it shows that we are becoming highly tourism, so meaning monoculture dependent country. And I know from my international experience when I was advising World Bank in Africa, for example, what does it mean when you become a monoculture economy and your employment force becomes mainly dependent on one business or part of the economy. And then if you look into the structure of the employment force, you will see that it's more and more less educated. I just spoke with the dean of one schools that is educating managers for health, for tourism sector management, and he told me that there is a very low interest. They will probably be closing or redesigning the program because no idea about studying touristic management. What means that there are no real positions for the people that have any serious ambitions. And then if you go deeply into the question of mass tourism, what does it bring? I think it's not anymore just a vague idea about Barcelona or any other highly populated cities where citizens are standing against the mass tourism, which is destroying their culture, their environment, their products, including, of course, the perspective of the economy. And this is now for the first time seen in Croatia. there is a example of artist event in Porridge, and there are many more others, and I hope it will be much more, because the long-term effects of the mass tourism, unplanned tourism, is one of the potential disasters for the country. So the question is, we went quickly through the perspective of a citizen, and now let's speak about perspective of the investor. Why would one invest in health tourism? Because the same argument apply for why would you invest in healthcare in general. In developed economies, it's one of the steadiest, highly profitable, high-tech industries where returns on investments are very high, and of course the level of knowledge you need to come into the sector, as well as the level of financial capacities, is high. But if you are capable of investing in this sector, you would not regret this on the short or even on the long term. It's as you can see from these slides I have selected here for you, this is the most interesting industry globally. And this is not, of course, something new. If you look the stock markets from 1990 on, it's the most stable, profitable sector and industries globally. But then it means that health and medical tourism is more about innovation, knowledge, growth, and technologies, and less about using and wasting and spending resources we have inherited from our ancestors, like nature, or killing the social fabrics, including the way how we live our everyday lives. And there is a fantastic analysis for McKinsey showing that developing health tourism helps us integrate both horizontally and vertically all modern technologies and knowledge bases that are available at all. So the question is, instead of asking how we can push forward for linear growth of chaotic mass tourism we have in Croatia, and just to remind you that again we are, I think, at 12% of capacities that are spent in the hotels. All others are spent in the private capacities, and then the consequences on tax policy, on politics, on work culture and education are horrendous. And so the question is, why wouldn't we ask ourselves, could we develop a value-based healthcare in the area of medical and healthcare tourism? If we look about the serious arguments, and serious arguments are definitely brought by people like Michael Porter. I was carefully looking into his arguments and the analysis he produced for Croatian economy a few years ago, and everything is valid and works now even more. It shows that the best cluster for global competitiveness of Croatian economy is exactly those elements of a tourist sector which have a potential to build the competitiveness on technology and knowledge and organization and everything what creates high value products. And then if you look into the serious studies and research globally, from OECD to certain institutes in reputable journals, you will see that apart from participating in a flat propaganda promoting medical tourism just because we are in, or we invested something, or we are professionally connected with the sector, but because it's seriously an opportunity to transform the knowledge base of economy and the profile of the workforce. And then if you look into the arguments, in particular why Croatian economy should look for medical tourism instead of mass tourism. There are many. And then if you look around yourself, you come to the, I would say, crucial question. And the point is why countries like Hungary, Poland, and Czech Republic are far, far ahead in all terms as compared to Croatia when we speak about medical tourism, in terms of volume, in terms of revenues per visitors, in terms of market reach globally and everything. And the only argument that is explanatory argument is government. All other determinants of competitiveness are better in Croatia. The better is the hospital system, better are the technologies, better is the science, better is the natural attractiveness of natural resources, location, and everything else. And I'm not saying this because I'm easy on promoting Croatia just because I'm Croat. So there is only one serious explanatory factor which shows this. So as a closing argument for what I wanted to say is putting medical tourism ahead of the card named tourism is or would be or should be a proper way of approaching what and how Croatia should look like in the future. But I'm very skeptical about this because it's against all easy, lazy, chaotic going way we are following. Thank you so much.
Woo. Bravo. Thank you, Mr. Orešković. You're still here with us. Don't leave, please.
Yes.
Yeah, because since you are reaching us online and you're not here in person, I won't ask you to stay until the end of the session for the Q&A, but just exclusively for you, I'm going to open the Q&A session now. So if you have any questions from the audience or through the chat, please ask the question. We have a question here in the first row and another question here from Irving. So please, can we get the microphone? And I hope you will hear us.
Thank you. My question is actually addressed to both speakers because the term investment is pretty much, misinterpreted in many, many ways. And I think that when people talk about investment, they usually talk about benefit for the shareholders, but they're not talking about benefits for the stakeholders. And they do not consider the stakeholders as much as they should. So I would like to hear, if it's possible, from both speakers, what do they think about thinking about stakeholders and less about shareholders?
Mr. Orešković, have you heard the question?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm personally both financial investor and strategic investor, and I have a company that is listed on the stock exchange with more than, I think, 23 or 24 venture capital, pension funds, and others, and a lot of small shareholders. And my answer to this is very simple. If we want it to make it working in a proper way, it should be good for employees, shareholders, and stakeholders, and society. And the crisis we are facing and experiencing, and it's challenging us, is showing that the companies that can understand and then implement this idea vertically from employees to the society are those which will have a future or have a future. Just to give you a very simple example, the employees are closest to term of stakeholders in general, meaning society. The companies that have a low churn of employees, so the lowest level possible of people leaving the company because they are not satisfied with the salaries, attitudes, behavior, culture, whatever, are those which have a higher EBITDA multiple on the market and less intensive costs of recruitment and so on. So I think it's all integrated. It should be one philosophy which should be healthy, ethical, sustainable, equitable philosophy, or it simply does not work. So employees, managers, shareholders, stakeholders, it should be one line of our honest attitude towards society and environment.
Thank you so
Sorry
much.
for.
Yeah, thank you so much. The same line, the same question was intended to Josko, but he will answer it later in the Q&A session, so you will get the answer from Josko as well. But we had another question. No, everything is solved then. Okay, another question maybe from the audience or from somebody in the chat. Do you have some more questions or not? If not, thank you so much, Mr. Orešković. Thank you for participating in this conference. That was very inspiring. And thank you.
Thank you. I will
Yeah.
continue to follow.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now we're continuing with our next speaker. Our next speaker is CEO and Managing Partner at the Provectus Capital Partners, an independent investment firm that established Aviva Medical Group and has the majority ownership in Adria Dental Group, Mr. Igor Čičak. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much. So I really think now it's right time for investor to speak about why it's investing into healthcare. So, but first I would like to say hello to my dear friend, Professor Stipe Orešković, for his presentation he has given. And also I need to agree with him with many points about the idea on medical tourism. And also, as you will see from our presentation, we are trying to do something else. So we try to put, or we are putting first medical aspects, quality, etc., and not tourism. And actually our business model is not based on tourism. So let me just see how it's working. Okay, so about Provectus Capital at glance. So we are actually growth capital equity investment firm that has been created in Croatia some years ago, and we have also established the largest equity fund, and that equity fund is mostly investing into, I would say, ESG topics, but among of them the most important is healthcare, private healthcare, and also dental care. So we are having around 100 million euro of capital, but our investment capacity is much, much bigger because we also are working closely with banks. So we think we can really contribute to ecosystem of the healthcare sector in Croatia and also wider in the region. So we are not just an investor in Croatia, but we also invest regionally. Regarding profile of the companies or businesses, we invest in companies that there are few criteria. One is that the company itself is very successful, it has good track record of development, and there is a need for our investment for further capital in order to develop on the market and also to consolidate the market. So this is really important. And the second aspect is we always invest based on partnership terms with founders. We can also make buyout, but this is not what we like to do. We like to have founders in our team and together with us developing the businesses. So out of 14 investments we have year to date, I think in 12 we are working closely with founders. And this is particularly important for healthcare and dental care sectors. So regarding, I think this is in short about our investment profile or investment strategy. So maybe also a little bit of more technical things. When I said growth capital, that means that we invest more in growing the business and less to buy out current shareholders. So this is one of key criteria for our investment, that over the period of investment, we invest much more in the business. Also, some size of initial investment. So typically we invest between 5 to 15 million euro initial investment, but of course we can invest much more, so we can also invest initial investment 30 million or even more. But this is where we see the most of opportunities to invest within those ranges, and then grow it through that investment to a much bigger size. In terms of target sectors, so our focus is healthcare, is dental care. We also like other sectors, specialty retail. We did invest in one company which is in the business of e-bike and bicycle, because it's on green agenda. We believe it's something that is extremely important for our region, and in our region that sector is highly underdeveloped. Regarding other criteria for companies we would wish to invest, so this is to be market leading, or at least to be among the market leading businesses. Also to be growing business. So if we say we are growth capital, that means that our capital needs to serve that growth. So that's also important. Quality is another topic, and this is something what we are really focusing a lot in our healthcare and dental care investments, because quality and ethics is one of key factors that make our investments successful. And also at the end, I said we like to work on partnership terms with founders. Quality of founders, track record of founders, track record of management is a key factor. Especially healthcare is a people business, as many other sectors, but I would say especially healthcare, it's a service sector. And it is the most important credibility and integrity of founders and of the management, especially for healthcare sector. So these are in short highlights or our investment criteria, how we work. So we did we have two big, we think it's big, I mean for Croatia it's big, definitely two big investments. One is within Aviva group. We call it Aviva Medical because Aviva was our first investment, but it might be some changes in future there, because we are positioning also more towards centers of excellence, quality, etc. And that would also require maybe a different positioning. So Aviva Medical Group is a medical institute that consists out of 5 medical companies. Out of 5, 2 are special hospitals. So we did invest in special hospital Dr. Nemec. This is orthopedics hospital here from Rijeka, founded by Professor Nemec, and it was the first private special hospital in Croatia. Also, we did invest in another orthopedic hospital, Aritera, which is based in Zagreb, provide pretty much similar services with some expanded services as well. And the idea behind those investments, we see a huge demand for orthopedic services. We see, unfortunately, long waiting lists, and the services itself could be considered as affordable even on the private market. And that was one of the major reasons we did invest in orthopedics, and we will continue to focus very much on orthopedics. In short, the group has around 350 employees, 70,000 patients, 1,600 surgeries, 31 special medical departments, 160 medical doctors. 98% of our revenue, or even 99% of revenue, comes from private market. The only 1 to 2% of revenue comes from the agreement we have with State Healthcare Fund. And this is something that it will stay in our focus. We want to be on the private market, and through quality to gain the presence. And also it enables us to make our business in different way. So just very shortly, Aviva, so also, yeah, sorry. I think, oops. I'm really sorry, I did something wrong. Okay, now sorry for that. Let me just, I will speed up. Yeah, Viva Polyclinic, that was our first investment. It's a polyclinic that provides general services, also some specialty checks. It's the oldest also private polyclinic, 40 years since been founded in Croatia, and it serves more than 40,000 patients per year. Then it's based in Zagreb. We did invest in Diagnostic 2000, it's specialty diagnostic clinics. It has 2 MRIs, 3 Tesla, 1.5 Tesla. And it's the reason, and again, background for the investment, it's again long waiting lists and importance of MRI services for many treatments that are required in Croatia. Also, we did invest in urology, so it's again, we are proud that maybe this is also because of age of founders in some way, but we are proud that we are really investing in the biggest and specialized clinics. So Urocenter is a urology clinic based in Zagreb, founded by 2 primariuses, and we are really happy having them within the group. And again, it's a medical procedure that is very much required, and in terms of price for patient is it's not too expensive. So Dr. Nemec, I already explained. Special hospital Nemec makes 10,000 different services and also more than 1,000 surgeries per year. And Aritera, it has 41 doctors. It operates on 3 locations in Zagreb, and it serves more than 10,000 patients, and including 600 surgeries. So why we stand out? So what we are trying to build, we try to build private healthcare group that will be based on center of excellence. So you could see that our businesses are specialized for different fields, and each clinic within the group has independent medical management. We have on the group level medical board created where medical topics are discussed, but we have very high autonomy for medical chiefs in each clinic to run their clinics in a way they believe is the best. Of course, there are certain joint procedures that relate to quality, to ethics, to some standard operating procedure, and also where we see a lot of synergies that we consolidate non-medical part of operations like admin, HR, supply, finance, etc., marketing. So strategy is to build centers of excellence. We invest a lot into state-of-the-art medical equipment in order to have that quality. And the target is to continue be focused, to be on quality, transparency, education, and also investments in facilities where our clinics operate. And this is just very brief overview how our combined company is working. So you can see that we started with 5 million euro revenue. We are now in 30 million euro. We started with, I think, around 50 employees. We are now 350. And we are planning to close big investment within the next few months in not Croatia, so a country close to Croatia, which is EU country, and that will give further dynamic to our group. And on dental, maybe dental is perceived more as a medical tourism, but I want to tell you not in our situation. So we have 5 clinics in the group. Here you will see only 4 because this Friday we invested in another, but presentation was sent before that has happened. So it's 5 clinics, and when we count on the group level, we have 70% of local patients, not foreigners. So it's although we also treat from foreign patients, we also treat many patients that live close at the borders. So it's really something we want to develop, not to be based on medical tourism, but to be based on quality and to improve the overall service in Croatia. So very briefly, okay, no, this is not working. Okay, now I know. Okay, so it's, 5 clinics, not 4. We have also 4 dental, digital dental labs, and we will be investing a lot into laboratory segment. 70 doctors, 85 dental technicians, above 400 employees year to date, and above 110,000 procedures and 50,000 patients, etc. Also, all clinics hold ISO certificate 9001. This is just very briefly. So we have in Zagreb Arena Clinic, 18 doctors and 6,000 and 5,000 patients, founded in 2011. Then we have in Split, so we try to regionally diversify. So we have Zagreb, Split. In Split, it's Solina Dental, the largest clinic in Split area. 10 dental modern surgeries equipped, 14 doctors, etc. Then we have Rident from Rijeka. You know Rident for sure. Everyone knows Rident. Rident has 2 clinics. One is in Poreču and another is in Rijeka. And I was told, I'm not of that profession to judge it, but I was told that clinic in Poreču is the best in Europe in terms of quality and equipment and what it offers. So we are really proud on Rident. And Rident. And then we have so we have 2 clinics in Rident, as we said, and we have also 3 labs. That's something that is very, very interesting for us to develop further. And in short, we are the market leading in Croatia. We will also try to expand in Slovenia because we always try to give some regional dynamic. We do more than 12,000 implants per year and 29,000 crowns per year. So there is a huge base of experience in the group. And we have a very strong medical board. In medical board, we have most esteemed doctors from the group and founders. They're discussing medical issues, and the quality and standard operating procedures in medical services are of key importance for the group, and that's really something that we are proud of. So I think this is that would be all from my side. And at the end, I would also like to comment Professor Stjepan Orešković and the question about shareholder value. So you might think, since I'm coming from investor side, that we do things only to earn money, which of course is not true. We like to do business that makes money, but I can tell you I didn't meet anybody who likes business who makes losses. So regarding shareholder value and investments, so I went to London Business School, and one of important lessons I got there is how shareholder value is structured, or how you can optimize shareholder value. So in order to optimize, to have maximum of shareholder value, you need to have all stakeholders maximally happy, meaning employees, community, buyers, suppliers, etc. So in order to have profitable investment, everyone needs to be satisfied, the most satisfied. So profitability is not contrary to development, to growth, to technology, to quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chichak. We already started the Q&A. Please hold that thought because we're going to have a Q&A after the whole block. Thank you so much for now, and we're going to need you in the Q&A session because obviously something's going on about this topic, and we're going to talk about it later as well. Now, I'm going to invite our next second to last speaker, Mr. Igor Radic, advisor to the Minister at the Ministry of Tourism and Sport, will give an insight on the possibilities of financing the development of health tourism in the Republic of Croatia. Mr. Radic, the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have it here. Well, good afternoon to everyone. We heard this morning and in afternoon sessions a lot of questions that have been raised about the tourism policy in Croatia. And in this presentation, in brief presentation, I will try to answer to you what we are doing and what we have been doing in the past 2 years. We heard this morning that Croatia is in a process of adopting a new tourism strategy that will last until 2030. And maybe as an answer to Professor Orešković in relation to the previous one, I do hope that this strategy will be implemented fully because...
Imate možda uložak?
What is happening?
Ako imaš.
Yeah, sorry. Because this strategy will... Yeah, apologies on behalf of her. Yeah. This strategy will be followed by the 500 million euros worth amount that is going to come out of the multi-annual financial framework and the National Recovery and Resilience Program. Before that, after the pandemic, obviously we cannot avoid a COVID pandemic. We started with the negotiation with the Commission about the package that will help tourism to recover from the pandemic. And at the end of 2020, we prepared the scenario analysis with different options. What will happen in Croatia in terms of tourists that they decline in future years, or maybe they rise? What will happen if the funding resources, the resources that are coming to national budget to be declined or raised? And we come up with certain challenges that are obviously here in our country, and foremost that is that we have the high seasonality, that we have over tourism, not maybe as you would think only in Dubrovnik or maybe Split, but also in smaller cities, municipalities. And based on that, we said that we would prepare the strategy that will be based on the sustainability. Sustainability, we heard on previous presentations, are not something that we have come up as a new member, but it's something that is already been implemented in the world, in Europe, and now hopefully we will try to implement that in Croatia. Based on the scenario analysis and draft proposal of the strategy, we got the funding through the National Recovery and Resilience Program of 300 million euros to implement that policies. The major, let's say, goal that we have achieved in the Recovery and Resilience Program is that through the European funding, we will fund the construction and reconstruction of the new building. well, infrastructure. In previous years, in previous programming period, that was not the case. Maybe it was, but not in the amounts that we are mentioning here. And obviously, we said that we would like to have certain goals. The most important is still to be the leader in the development of the economy in Republic of Croatia. Well, that money that is coming to Croatia also have some prerequisites that needs to be met. The first and maybe most important is to implement in green and later in digital. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but out of 49 billion kunas that are coming to Croatia, 32% should be invested in green economy, while 20% should be dedicated to the digital infrastructure. In our case, we would like to invest more in less development area, while in the areas that are really that have been already, let's say, developed, like city of Crikvenica, which is on the list of the index of tourism development. It's already there. In those areas, we will seek for the investments that are aimed to reconstruction of the existing infrastructure. Also, one large portion of the money will be dedicated to the private sector. Comparing to the other sectors, 60% of the money that is coming from the National Recovery and Resilience Program are going to the private sector. As I said, comparing to the other sectors, the majority of the funding goes to the public sector. Here is not. Here's 40% are going to the public, and 60% are going to the private sector. Here, I would mention the first call that have been launched on 5th of October, meaning 2 weeks ago. So this call is open to everyone. Well, I mean to the public sector. It's worth more than 120 million euros. It's divided in 3 groups. The first group is dedicated to the infrastructure. I mean, nature, visitor infrastructure like national parks and similar. Active tourism is 37 million euros, and group 3 is special purpose built call for the health tourism infrastructure. On this call, the private sector can apply. In the tender is open 120 days, meaning that there is no pre-identified project. The evaluation of the projects are going to be based on their quality, not on the, as I said, on when and how they have submitted their offer. What is the particular maybe interested in this call, that we try to cover everything. So the eligible cost of the project are starting from 1st of February 2021, and so everything what happened later, meaning your cost of the inception design, main design, construction, location, permit, everything is covered, everything is eligible. Also, most importantly, the construction of the new and the existing infrastructure is there, along with the equipment that you would like to purchase through your project proposal. Also, compared to the multi-annual financial framework that have been were existing in Croatia after the accession, where you had funding up to 85%. Here is the case that you can you can achieve funding up to 100%, especially if you are able to explain to us how you have come up with your proposal and how your project proposal is gonna fit to these goals of the tender. The minimum aid intensity is more than €1 million, and the maximum intensity is more than 17 million euros. Also, what is interested, this draft proposal was a subject of the public consultation in July this year. So this tender was already been presented to the public. Also, the National Recovery and Resilience Program was adopted last year in July, after which we had sessions on our coast and also in inland, and we presented this information to the possible bidders, and we gave them enough time to prepare their projects, especially in terms of if they need new construction permits. So this information is well known to everyone now more than 1 year. And with this additional 100 days, we think that it's enough year and a half to prepare the project, especially if the project is fitting to the goals of the goal, and the intensity of the grant is of particular high. What is following is the adoption of the operational programs. We heard last week that the second operational program is already been adopted. The first and third are still in a negotiation phase. We're expecting out of this 3 operational program around 170 million euros, along with the National Recovery and Resilience Program that is more or less around 470 million euro of package dedicated directly for tourism infrastructure, and other projects that are following here. So this operational program, they're going to be operational until the end of this year, and we're expecting the calls out of these programs until the end of next year. The difference between the National Recovery and the Resilience Program and the multi-annual financial framework is on the projects when they need to be finished. Multi-annual financial framework is allowing us to have the project finished until the end of 2030, while the projects that are going to be funded out of the National Recovery and Resilience Program needs to be finished not later than December 2025. So the prerequisite for this tender that is open for you to apply is to apply with the construction permit that is already there. So we will not fund the projects that have the location permit or that it's somewhere in the middle of preparation. What are the funding opportunities for the health tourism in the multi-annual financial framework? Basically, it's the same. What we are not going to fund through the National Recovery and Resilience Program, we would like to fund from this. So everything what you're now preparing, if you will not be accepted for financing through the first program, then you will have the opportunity to fund here. And we are aiming for the same. We are aiming for the infrastructure, for the equipment that will be there, and also the soft measures like R&D and similar. Also, talking on the possible beneficiaries, like in the National Recovery and the Resilience Program, here are the same. We will most probably we will divide financing half to the private sector and half to the public sector. Concluding remarks. After the adoption of the strategy, we would like to start implementing not the projects that are sole projects, but we want to have, as Professor Orešković said, we want to have, for example, he pointed out correctly, medical tourism should be a lead, and then based on that, we need to have other economic activities that will follow. The third point that is written here is also important. For the first time, Ministry of Tourism and Sports is a leading party in the implementation of this funding. In previous year, you had soft measures that were part of the Ministry of Economy or other ministry, and here we are leader. We are making the terms, we are publishing the calls, and we are responsible for the end result. I think this 500 million euro package is, well, someone would say significant, maybe someone would not agree with that, but we do hope that there are going to be additional funding that will follow that, and we think that in the course of next 10 years, we have a bright future. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Radic, and I'm sorry for interrupting your lecture. Yeah, I didn't know that the microphone was on, so the problem is solved. Thanks to the lady here. Okay, this will be the story of the conference for sure. Now the last speaker of this part is Mr. Mario Ravic. He is the head of digital health at Ericsson Nikola Tesla, and he has a presentation that certainly engaged our attention, so here you are. The microphone is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. They told me to squeeze my 35 minutes into 15 minutes, so I'm not gonna be able to do that completely, but I'll try. So I'm working in a company called Ericsson Nikola Tesla. Ericsson Nikola Tesla is a tech company. So it's a part of Ericsson Corporation that has more than 100,000 people, and we in Croatia have 3,200 people. We are quite known for digital transformation projects we've done in Croatia, and one of them is e-health. So national e-health system in Croatia is perceived as one of the best in Europe technology-wise. So we have e-prescription, we have e-referral, we have electronic healthcare records, and all the other things in our ecosystem that more advanced countries do not have. So we were there before Estonia and Denmark. So if somebody knows what digitalization in Estonia means. And taking it all from technology perspective, being here, you know, I'm looking at health tourism as an industry. And industries, all industries around the world have been hit by a technology strike, basically by three major groups of technologies. And these are 5G, these are IoT, and this is cloud. And what this major strike of technologies is basically pushing the industries in is something called Industry 4.0. Right, Industry 4.0, there is no factory 4.0, but basically this is a conceptual term where all the industries are going to get accelerated into integration and automation of processes. It's going to, like, in 10 years, do something that normally takes 30 or 40 or 50 years. So one step up. And how all those technologies that you've heard about, like 5G, IoT, and cloud, can influence health tourism, I'll show you an example that I developed with a friend of mine sitting right here. So more or less, 5G is a fifth generation of mobile networks. And when I say that it's unlocking new use cases, imagine something that has 1 gigabit or a few gigabits of speed over mobile network and has like 3 milliseconds of delay, enough to have robotic or remote surgery. Now we have 10 times slower internet and 10 times more latency. Imagine having private networks on your own, let's say, corner area or hospital area that enable such speed for virtual reality, for patients from the States feeling like they are in your complex and doing, you know, orthopedic recovery or any kind of exercises. This is what 5G will unlock through the next decade. IoT, Internet of Things, these are all smart devices that you have at your home currently, or maybe in factories. Smart enough to measure something, send data somewhere, and you don't notice them. But data is being gathered, and with the data, you can do something. You know that all. So all scientists among you, all businessmen among you, you know that you need to measure to manage something. And the third thing is cloud. Like when you mention cloud, some of the people get frightened, but cloud is everywhere. Cloud is Azure, cloud is Amazon, cloud is Google Drive, cloud is Gmail. Everything is stored in cloud, but in this context, let's look at the cloud from the data perspective. Why? Because all the data that we are creating now in the world, multiplies every year, and it's impossible to store them on your PC, right? This is why cloud was invented. Put all the data up, but when you have large amounts of data, what do? You need to make conclusions, and you need to make data insights out of that. So, thinking about health tourism and the area, Kvarner and Istria area that we have here, which I'm visiting regularly, which has like 150 years of health tourism experience, which has wonderful nature, which has, sea that is impeccable, which has institutions that were providing care and a workforce that have culture in providing care and rehabilitation for years. The first question is, can we jump to the next level? Can we jump to the next level with all those facilities and all those services in the area that we have, not just incrementally using what we had nature before, using the institutions built by Austro-Hungarian Empire, but basically do something in rebranding and moving that faster, for example, with technology. Why am I saying, for example, with technology? 10 years ago, I was working in remote patient monitoring industry. And there are two areas in the world that were very famous about technology. One is Israel for their startups and medical device innovation. So you could see ECG stuff that you could not see anywhere in the world developed in Israel with small startups. They used the startup and technology scene and market to make branding of Israel as a startup industry, of course, connected to the military industry, but they use the momentum. Second one is San Diego Bay Area. More than 600 life science companies were there, bit by bit, collaborating and doing beautiful things in technology for fitness, wellness area, which you don't notice. So right now, but they are coming out of summer. So in order to create great impact, you need to have the ecosystem. If you can use technology to make that, you can accelerate things. So one weekend, I came to Rovinj with Marin Korade. We went to the hospital, and I was never visiting the hospital. It's a shame, right? I knew there is a hospital in Rovinj, and since I'm working in the healthcare sector for 10 years, I've never been there, right? And he took me for a tour. And tour was just like, let me show you the campus. And campus is huge, you know it all. It's like 25 acres. They have wonderful private rehabilitation beach. They have, walking track around the forest. They have lots of things. One thing struck me. The guy on the private beach was putting the sea temperature on a whiteboard, like 24 degrees is the temperature of the sea, and we started, talking. Can we do something about it? And the idea grew. After two hours of walking and debating what we should do, that we should basically put our advantage of environment and measure something that we have in environment and use the activity parameters of the patient to basically quantify and make greater value out of health tourism. We can show competitive advantages of destination with climate, environment, and rehabilitation correlated to outcomes. Why not? When you have the data, after 2, 3, 5 years, when you have the patient data, when you see that they better rehabilitated, when you follow them up, you can make a proof point. You will not invent something new, but the whole world will know that Kvarner area measures everything, that you have better outcomes. The climate is still the same, but you used it to prove something out. And basically, with thinking like that, innovation technology must be incorporated in the care process and journey, because every care process, every institution has different patient journeys. Of course, if you have orthopedic rehabilitation, it's not the same if you have wellness institution. But it does not matter. The most important part is to get the data and suck the insights out and use them. So that we worked very, very briefly into having contexts of the facility surveyed and seen what is the problem there and how we should solve it. So therapeutical beach for rehabilitation in sea, we had challenges, no automatic collection of data on sea temperature, sea quality, wind, sun, patients are swimming outside of the beach, recreational swimmers entering the beach. So normal problems everybody has, right? Then I said, okay, let's measure sea quality, temperature. Let's put the meteo station so you have all the things around it. Let's put the smart buoys so you can discover maybe the patient swimming out or anybody, you know, so technology can play a role there. Let's have a context too. Campus, huge campus, frail patients sometimes, freely moving through the campus, having rehabilitation outdoor tracks, which is, by the way, beautiful. It looks really top of the notch. And prescribed daily activity for some diagnosis, like you should walk like 30 minutes per day. So many of the patients are at full risk during movements without supervision. So this is extremely brutal. You have a 3-week rehabilitation patient and then he falls or she falls, and this ruins the whole stuff, right? And maybe nobody knows because it's 25-acre property where he is. And patients do not have digital activity calendar, so nothing is basically digitalized. So PERS, Personal Emergency Response System, you know, like fall detector bracelet, activity smart meters, patient mobile apps. Yeah, brainstorming, technologies. Context 3, walking track around the campus. So I'm not paid for the commercial, but I'm doing that freely. So yeah, thank you. So you know, we walked around, right, and said, you know, this is great. You have a view to the old town of Rovinj out of there, and this is like a property that should be used by the citizens of Rovinj as well as the patients, right? And they are like managing, doing the new track so that it looks nice. And then we said, okay, you know, pine tree view. Let's put the smart benches. Let's put the smart lighting. And, you know, let's brand the wind. So you can have smart lighting that, you know, displays green if it's like Bura, or yellow if it's Yugo. So you can, yeah, you can brand wind. So I don't go walking if it's Bura, then I will be blown away, right? Imagine the tricks in marketing you can do with your just environmental factors and, you know, people getting funny things. And you can put in the city center of Rovinj, there is Bura on Marinko's peninsula. Let's not go there, or it's great, right? So you can do a zillion of things just with technology in. So as you've seen, there are multiple sensors which we don't produce, so we are not affecting to put any of them, but we are putting them on the market to be applied on different campuses. And basically what you should have at the end is an analytics system where you put all your knowledge in, what to derive and what to put there. So this was the input side, how to gather the data. And data consumer side is much more different because there are multiple data consumers, patients, management of the hospital, citizens, you know, marketing department of the hospital, whoever. So there are lots of questions to ask. So which applications need our data? Is data used on the hospital web publishing just or something else? Which data is for patients? Do we need to integrate data with patients' records from back home? Imagine patient records, for example. Patient has a patient record on Google. When he goes out from your hospital, everything is exported there. Ah, cool thing. I have all my results. I have everything I've done there. So just opening the thinking. Which open data to collect? Open data is like weather data and all the data you can get on internet, basically to synthesize with your data, etc., etc. So it brings you basically to the cloud and to the data science. And still, again, if you're a scientist or if you're a manager, you need to have the data to make better decisions, but use it carefully, right? So all this brings you, you know, technology like this, you know, having like, I need to go back. I messed it up. Technology. Yeah. How to go back? Down? I need help. So all this, Now we should start again from slide one. No, I put here IoT platform. So I put here IoT platform as a place for gathering all data and basically. It's alive. It's alive. And this is the consumer side, which basically gives you opportunity for the different value proposition. One value proposition is ecosystem creation. I heard you have 37 members of the cluster. So imagine all the institutions interconnected and changing the data on patient activity. You're able to do comparisons. Or you can interconnect with the ecosystem of traffic and see what is the traffic like in Rijeka, and basically put the services to the patient from the traffic ecosystem. Or basically you can tailor all their journey connected to that. So there are multiple values when you have the data, how to create your own business value. So that's first the ecosystem. Accreditations. One beautiful thing that I learned that is in preparation is, how to make all the institutions be ranked and qualified on similar level, but accreditations to them. So what if you can do air quality, water quality, sea quality accreditation automatically with your sensors? You don't need to do any assessment, it's there. We assess you all the time, data is there, you can use it on a beautiful value proposition, saves you a lot of money. What if you can use this differentiation to be like not just a nice corner area, environmental, history blended area to go, but very high-tech area to go, where all things are measured, where patients get all the data, where everything can be perceived still natural, because this is what you sell. But how can you move to the next step? Next step is important. Next step in short time is important. And I think this is one of the solutions, because nothing can bring us up there as fast as technology. But just by the way, I'm finished with the presentation. We are applying for funding for projects like this, and I hope we will get some of them soon and invite you for a showcase. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can stay here, Mr. Ravic, you can stay here and join us for the Q&A session. And I'm going to call the other guests, Mr. Radic, Cicak, and Brkic, to join me on stage for the Q&A session. I'm sure that you have lots of questions for our guests and for our speakers. And one question we have already posed to you, Mr. Brkic, in the first row. No, if somebody posed about the investment. If you remember, were you in the room? Yeah. Okay.
Then we would cut the time short for the panel.
So now is the time.
The investment, we tend to understand the investment not from a strictly financial transaction point. So the investment it's like a question, is it better to live long or to live better? It depends on the timeline. If you expect a return on investment in the end of the process, yes, then it's better to live longer. But personally and throughout the company way of working, we believe that investment should be more than a transaction in finance. However, like we have heard before, in the end, finance is something that drives us all. To cut the story short, our investments are more than financials. As shown in the presentation, there was investments in our internal potential, in our experts, investment in gathering all the external experts that are available at the time to develop the system. And then, of course, I will come to this a lot of times, investment in infrastructure, which is crucial for us because we are, in the end, a production company. So I believe that answers the question.
Yeah. You got one question, I think. Yeah, please. Just a second to give you a microphone for our online viewers. I know that we hear each other.
Okay. So my question is for Igor from Provectus. So Igor, what are the top healthcare investment trends in this region? So to add context, we are an advisory firm, and one of the areas we work in is transactions. So, for example, when it comes to the Middle East, a lot of investments are not just vanilla investments into a firm, but doing a lot of due diligence and seeing that do you really need all that money, or do you work your way through a partnership or a collaboration? That's one. Two, in APAC, what we see is there's a lot of center of excellence exchange programs and things like those where, again, the core investment value goes down. So from that perspective, I would love to learn how and what are the trends here in this region. Are there still very vanilla investments where you just do your due diligence and put the money, or are these kind of models existing in this region?
Thank you. So regarding first question, what are the most attractive segments within the healthcare? So we are focused very much on outpatient, but also inpatient. When we say inpatient services, we mean less complex, so that the patient stays for a few days in the hospital, not for a few months. So less complex. So we did not invest in oncology, although oncology also in terms of infrastructure, like radiotherapy or some infrastructure facilities, it's also I think very good area to invest. So this is where we think we can give the most value. It also fits well into our investment profile, and also there is there is a market for that because of long waiting lists, lack of diagnostic options, etc. Yeah. So, and can you just, I'm not sure I did understand second question.
The second question was a comment to my first question, which means, let's say we as an advisory firm, when we do transaction advisory, we look at sell-side advisory and buy-side advisory. So recently we helped a home healthcare entity, which is based out of Thailand, to be acquired by a Kuwaiti capital firm. When we helped them, what we saw is they actually don't need all that capital that they thought that they would need. Which means we told them that if you need, let's say, $25 million, you can actually work only with 5, because just look at a clinical exchange program or look at opening your business within a business in that country rather than going there, putting all the brick and mortar, putting everything. So that's my question. Do these things exist here, or they're still?
Well, I can just tell you how we work. So we always make very detailed analysis of investment proposal. Yeah, that includes all initial investment and any add-on investments. And well, we always like to invest in something that exists and to develop it further. And that's how we work. And I don't know if that answers your question.
It does.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Another questions? Do you have some questions from the audience? Please don't hesitate. Yeah, here in the 4th row.
Thank you. Oh, my question is for Mr. Ravic. It's amazing what IoT can do today, and I know that today data is the money. So when we use a lot of IoT devices, we get a lot of data. And what I've been hearing a lot that the companies, and especially like institutions in Croatia, don't monetize that data. So I was wondering, do you see a rising trend in that area as well? Do companies understand what kind of value that they have in that data, or it's still just sitting there unused?
Sitting there unused.
Okay, next question.
So it's good area to invest.
Yeah, that's the general answer. Of course, there are I would say 98% of the companies just sit there. So because data science is a scientific area, more or less, where you need data science teams to bring insights out of those data, unless you're using specialized softwares that are already providing you like reports and insights. But really, to get tailored insights into the data, you need to know how this is done. This is done by establishing a team working on it that has data scientists, that has mathematicians, that have people who know the domain. It's not that expensive, but it gives you a completely different view of your own company, industry, but you need to have the data first. So this is the most important and crucial step to basically make people aware that if you want to have data in 5 years, you should start now building the infrastructure, gather the data, assemble the team, and get the data. And then everything gets paid off by 3, 4, 10 times. And that's, so you cannot see it now. We need to educate the people to do that.
Nice recipe for future, for the firms. Just write this down. Another question maybe? Yeah, we have here, Elizabeth. Here is the microphone.
I'll unmask myself. Thank you, gentlemen. And this is, I think, more of a general question that perhaps all of you could offer your perspective, and that is, what role does quality of care play in your investments? How do you determine quality? How do you build quality of healthcare as your investments mature?
Okay, so I will start. So what we do, we always we try to implement SOPs, standard operating procedures, and each service is guided by procedure from the moment patient calls the clinic, and then it's admitted, and then first check, etc. So through those precise quality procedures, you can then implement quality control measures, because then you monitor whether it's obeyed procedures, and also we monitor patient satisfaction. So these are actually the ways you can address quality. Also, we have a medical board. So one of major topics on the medical board agenda is quality. So that's in short. Yeah.
Somebody else would like to comment on that?
Maybe I can add to this. When we start negotiating the multi-annual financial framework and the National Recovery and Resilience Program, then the European Commission asked us whether do we have pre-identified projects, and we said no, it's not up to the government to decide where the particular projects should be implemented, or how it should be a smaller or larger one, or by whom it should be implemented. And we said we set up certain brackets. We said obviously in this call that we want to have particular infrastructure, but we didn't said we wanted to have it on a coast or maybe in an inland, or we said it needs to have the construction permit. Obviously then it's approved by the local government, local officials. So it meaning that it's acceptable to the local community, and if as such, then it's applicable for our funding. And also what we are aiming is to have a to have a quality that to have a project that have larger quality to the local community than the in previous years.
So this is also important to you. Yeah. Okay, another question from the audience. Yeah.
I'll put just a comment on this, because it's not without a purpose this panel was here and these people are on the stage.
Tell us.
So through the idea to combine all those ideas, we start 1 year ago as a cluster with our partners about to establish the Center of Innovation in health and health tourism and health industry. And the partners are Ericsson, Nikola Tesla, Jadran Galensky Laboratory, members of our cluster, as well as the both ministries, Ministries of Tourism and Minister of Regional Development, EU funds. So there are several points of it. One, it's the education, research, new products, digitalization, telemedicine, and as Elizabeth mentioned, certification and quality. Those what Mario shows, that 14 topics on the certification, it's idea which we will running forward. And Marinko, it's somewhere there, and we are thinking regionally. So the hospital of Marinko is also our member. So the whole idea is to put together all ecosystem and have basically the products for the domestical people as well as the product who we can put on the market and look at on the business value.
Thank you for discovering this idea. Now everything gets sense. Thank you so much. We have 3 more minutes for another question, if you have some, or maybe via chat. I'm waiting for questions. I have one question for Mr. Ravic from the chat. Do you think we used enough technology in health and health tourism? What would you emphasize which segments? You got the answer already,
Yeah,
but maybe just to...
I don't think that we have used enough technology there because we are generally not seeing the world how it progresses. So in medical technology itself, the facilities, health facilities are using just a fragment of technologies available. You know, there are good examples of innovative centers, but in general, if you take Croatia or if you take institutions here, they are not on the world top scale. In health tourism, in usage of technology, of course, and that is related to funding, etc., etc. So it's not just very linear. Why we are not using that. Second thing is health tourism. As I mentioned, you know, activity monitors, IoT devices, things like that. These are the devices. This is part of the technology. The other part of technology is basically software that makes automation of processes. So when I go to wellness somewhere, if I'm a wellness user, not rehabilitation user, if all the technology around the campus, around everything, is basically given to me in a simple manner, and I'm an old patient, I don't want tablet. I just want everything to be, you know, on a TV. I just want everything to be accessible, and technology made that. I would be happy. So thinking about different patient profiles, thinking about incorporating technology takes time. I don't think that we as a society here in Croatia have devoted much time to think about technology. So we are not like a very high-tech country, but good thing with technology is you can jump into that train and start running in like very fast time together with the rest of it. It's just the you know, question of time when you realize you need to do that and start running. And then you're, you know, running in parallel with the others, you can run faster, etc. You don't need 70 years or 150 years of tradition to do that. You can jump in. So that's my role here, basically.
You don't have to be a running champion, I hope, to
you
jump on the train. Thank you so much. Another question from Khalid Hassan. The question is pretty general. How to start health tourism business? What are the things a person needs to focus if he wants to make a career in this field? To start running, maybe. Somebody has... This is a broad question.
Maybe I can answer to this. In my presentation, I didn't have the presentation about the other call that is also launched on the 5th of October for the private entrepreneurs. And that call is worth 160 million euros. And one of the eligible activity is startups. So basically what we are seeking there is that the firm is established here in Croatia, that have the goals that are fitted in our brackets, what we want to achieve with this goal, and if the project have the construction activity, then it should have the construction permit. But nevertheless, you can start with the EU funding and start your career in health tourism by the EU funding.
Okay, a good recommendation for a start. Yeah, another question? Please, yeah, here's the microphone because of our online viewers to listen to you.
If we are speaking about new technology, about health tourism, then we must think another is program for health tourism on highest level to collect it all data for all institutions. Then you cannot do this before we have not in base who are working long years in base. So we create 4 times in 33 years our program for health tourism. And it consists of a lot of things. So first interview is not enough 45 minutes. You must know from where is he coming, what he wants, what his wishes, what is health program, what he want to eat, where he want to go, what is excursion. So we create our own program. This is without medical care. That next time you know exactly who was the best physiotherapist, what was the best treatment for him, and to make surprise and I can say the usluga, service more than he expected. This is the point. So we know exactly how many procedures we have per day, who was involved in these with these persons, what languages was deficit or was okay, and this is really complex work. So we try our best, but I see that you cannot go forward without institutions who really have experience.
Thank you so much, Vlasta, for your comment. Do you agree?
We all agree.
I think this brings us back to the previous question. How do we measure quality of investment? The investment is just a tool to get the development going on. So basically, we're measuring the quality of the goal throughout the process. So this is basically what Ramirez just said.
Great.
Consumer-centric approach.
Now, when we all agree, it's time to sum up everything and to leave you for lunch. Thank you so much. One big round of applause for our speakers today. You're free to have lunch. You just want service information, please. I should remind you that at 5 o'clock there's a workshop held by Elizabeth and Irving, and so please come back at 5 o'clock. Please don't forget to fill up this form, the form evaluation form. It's really important for us. Then at 8 o'clock tonight is a gala dinner for the first award ceremony ever, this CIHT conference award ceremony. So please dress nicely and come here to hang out with us. And then the next speakers will start tomorrow at 10. So see you guys. Thank you for everything and thank you for participation. Thank you.
Kažu da bez zraka možemo preživjeti oko 3 minute. Zato se dobro osjećamo kada izađemo vani na svjež zrak. Osim ako smo alergični na lijesku, brezu, trave, ambroziju. U tom slučaju ostanimo u kući. Osim ako smo alergični na grinje, prašinu, perje, životinje. Zato je važno da redovito ispiremo nos i uklonimo alergene. Tako možemo uživati u svakom dobu dana i godine, i vani i unutra. Aqua Maris. Snaga mora u svakom udahu.
Poliklinika Terme u srcu Mediterana u mjestu Selce, povijesnoj lokaciji 100 metara od mora. Terme Selce je prva privatna ustanova za rehabilitaciju i zdravstveni turizam u Hrvatskoj, koju su osnovali 1989. primarijus Ivan Brozičević i doktorica Vlasta Brozičević. Sa svojim stručnim timom primjenjuju holistički pristup u radu s pacijentima svih životnih dobi. O uspjehu Termi Selce svjedoči preko 30.000 zadovoljnih pacijenata iz 86 zemalja svijeta i 6 kontinenata. Svoje povjerenje poklonili su nam i vrhunski sportaši. Više od 120 olimpijskih, svjetskih i europskih šampiona zaštitni su znak Poliklinike Terme Selce. Poliklinika Terme Selce je stekla izniman ugled u zemlji i svijetu, zahvaljujući individualiziranim visokostručnim programima rehabilitacije i fizikalne terapije. Naš tim čini 44 visoko kvalificiranih stručnjaka, od liječnika specijalista, medicinskih sestara, fizioterapeuta, psihologa, kineziologa, nutricioniste i masera u suradnji sa vodećim hrvatskim i svjetskim ortopedskim i traumatološkim bolnicama. Prateći ritam i potrebe modernog čovjeka, Poliklinika Terme Selce daje novu kvalitetu zdravstvenoj i turističkoj ponudi Crikveničko-Vinodolske rivijere, postavši simbol za rehabilitaciju sportaša, aktivnog stanovništva, mladih, starije populacije te osoba iz svih područja javnog života.